My name is Timothy White. I was told to show this letter.
Okay, come in.
I believe you know my cousin.
Yes, definitely. Peggy works at my newspaper.
Right. What do you want?
Well, I work for the Birmingham Post, and many of our readers who are Irish living in Birmingham understand the situation here in Ireland, but many of our readers who are English do not. My editor wanted to send someone over to get a better understanding of the situation, and, well, I volunteered.
Did you volunteer? Or were you volunteered?
No, I volunteered. Peggy assured me everything would be fine.
Right. Well, let's get one thing straight. I don't want to be here. My cousin's letter was passed through headquarters and the big fella himself told me to come.
The big fella?
Yeah, the big fella. Michael Collins, the most wanted man in Ireland. But as I said, I don't want to be here. There are plenty of British soldiers who would like to see me have an unfortunate accident, despite the fact we are on a ceasefire. So, do not print my name, do not print my cousin's name, and do not print the location of this meeting. If you break any of these conditions, our friends in Birmingham will pay you a visit in your lodging in Barker Street. Are we clear?
Yes, that's perfectly clear.
Right. Ask your questions, newspaper man. Be quick about it.
I'm trying to find the cause for such violence and the conflict and why men take up arms.
Take up arms? The British never parted with anything freely. Just ask the Boers in South Africa. Or the Indians at Amritsar. And they'll tell you the same.
Are you anti-British?
I was never anti-anything. I'm pro-Irish. All we want is to be able to make our way in the world and decide our own future. That's not too much to ask, is it? Look, I grew up reading the old Gaelic legends with my father. We were never taught Irish in school. We had to learn it at home. I find the more your culture is suppressed, the more you want to know about it. I suppose if someone tells you you can't have something, it makes you want it more. I was never taught to be anti-anything. But when you look at our history, it's hard not to feel raw, angry.
What made you join the IRA?
When the Ulster Volunteers were formed, the Irish Volunteers were formed as a direct response. I joined, and when the leaders of the Rising were executed, I joined the IRA.
The Rising?
The Easter Rising of 1916. Shot Willie Pearce for nothing other than being Padraig's brother. They shot James Connolly tied to a chair because he was too sick to stand. I decided then, any country that would shoot a man tied to a chair wasn't going to come to terms peacefully. That's how we got where we are.
Currently there is a ceasefire as members from both sides meet in London. But in the early days of the conflict, many of the casualties were Irishmen, Roman Catholics, members of the RIC. How did you justify the killing of other Irishmen?
Many left the RIC. They were given plenty warnings. Those who stayed chose the crown over the harp.
Many had no other jobs to go to. Many had families to feed.
When we attack a column of enemy soldiers, we don't have the luxury of being able to conduct a census. This is war. If you're in a uniform, that's good enough. I don't want to leave a mother or a wife without the means to support her family, but what choice do we have?
Many were killed not in uniform.
Spies and informants, only shot on solid evidence. They got what was coming to them. We're not the Black and Tans or the Auxies, where if you're Irish, you're good enough target for them.
You mentioned the reserve units of the RIC, the Royal Irish Constabulary. They were sent here to bolster the RIC. But their role here seems to have become controversial.
Controversial? Controversial? Controversial is putting it mildly. The Black and Tans and the Auxies are the lowest of the low. Shell-shocked soldiers and thugs. We've got 18 Auxies at Kilmichael. And the British papers called them cadets to make it sound like they were children. But they were no Boy Scouts. They burned the centre of Cork and fired at 2 unarmed men. They even fired at the firemen trying to put out the flames. The Black and Tans and the Auxies, the greatest recruitment tool the IRA has. When they arrived in Ireland, anybody still on the fence chose a side.
You fight for a cause, as do many. But I think in every conflict there are men attracted to the violence. Men whom thrive in a time of war.
Some are, I imagine. I can't imagine many of them living quietly on a farm when all this is over. If we have a lasting peace here, I expect many of them will just follow the action somewhere else.
My paper has in recent weeks covered the sectarian violence in the north. Dozens killed. It seems to me that there are many in the north who want no part in Irish unity. What would you do with them?
Half a loaf of bread is better than none. The talks of a separate state to be created in the north. My men are split over that.
You mention a split. Do you think it will ever get that far?
I have faith in the leadership. They've brought us this far. Michael Collins was in Armagh last week. He knows the score. He'll do what's best for everyone. He won't abandon the north. Hopefully. Hopefully we can have a treaty that we can live with and we can put an end to the violence.
What will you do after?
I don't know. We'll need a new army and a new police force. Maybe I'll just go back to the farm. Hard to say.
Time to go. The Brits are out of the barracks.
Look after yourself, newspaper man. Say hello to my cousin for me.
I will.
So my name is James Doherty. I'm a historian. I help out the Imagine Arts Festival. My primary interest in history, I suppose, is military history. And with the Imagine Arts, I often get involved in some of the historical elements of the festival. We've done a range of historical events over the years, from dark history walks to formal history lectures. But this year, something a bit different. In conjunction with Waterford City Council and the Decade of Commemorations Committee, we're making a short film production titled Interview with a Rebel. Now, Interview with a Rebel, it's all about motivation. why people take up arms, why people fight. In conflict, you tend to have different types of conflict. You have your formal, standardized kind of set piece warfare, nations fighting nations, but you often have the opposite, very unconventional warfare, such as the Irish War of Independence and Irish Civil War, where often you get volunteers. People are fighting not for pay, but they're fighting for a cause. So really, with this film, we're hoping to look at why different people got involved. Some people fight for a cause because of a belief system. Some people fight for religion in the different conflicts. Some people fight because they have to. And other people fight because they're attracted to war and danger. So really, as I said, the key is motivation. In the short film, everything that is mentioned is real. Different events that are mentioned, such as conflicts involving the Boer War in South Africa and the Indian conflict, Indian independence, and the massacre at Amritsar. And really, for people watching this, or maybe in school, or maybe studying the events, anything you see or hear mentioned in the film, look it up and do a little bit more research, like the ambush at Kilmichael, certain events like that. And from that, you'll get a little bit more information, a little bit more background to the film. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production, the actors, and again thank Waterford City Council and the Decade of Commemorations. I'd like to thank the Imagine Arts Committee. I hope everyone enjoys this year's festival.